What would you do to get your kids to read?
I've tried pleading. I've tried candy.
Food, TV.
Letting him stay up late.
It was heavy negotiations. We even had to have a contract.
Now you don't have to bargain or plead to get your kids to read. Just give them Sports Illustrated for Kids. Here's why.
It's exciting, so they're excited to read it.
Sports Illustrated for Kids is a fun magazine.
He's always reading and always asking us questions.
We have found Mark blooming with reading.
Kids love everything from the puzzles and posters to the sports stars, mazes, and games.
I like the trivia math questions because it helps me on my math skills.
I like Hot Shots because it tells about kid athletes.
They're excited to turn the page because of the fact that they can read about their hero as well as children their age.
Fun Facts Know and Tell is what Mark will use to stump Dad.
I like Buzz Beamer a lot because he's a goof.
Sports Illustrated for Kids is more than just fun, it's an education.
This opens up avenues to all sorts of educational values.
Sportsmanship,
self-esteem,
teamwork.
They're learning, they don't even realize it.
As a coach, it really helps the kids learn how to play the game.
Sports Illustrated for Kids should be in every classroom.
Call now and get a year's worth of Sports Illustrated for Kids for 4 monthly installments of $5.99. Save over 20% off the cover price. Your kids will love getting it in the mail with their name on it.
He's proud to have his name on. He feels like he's a part of something much bigger.
Give it to your children or grandchildren today.
Our granddaughter is 10 years old, and she insisted that we give her a subscription to Sports Illustrated for Kids because all the kids at school were talking about it.
Giving Sports Illustrated for Kids is a gift of learning, a gift for a lifetime.
So call now, use your credit card, and discover what millions of parents already know, that Sports Illustrated for Kids is the magazine that your kids will love.
Now that Mark is reading, I can't get him to stop reading.
My son is reading now because of Sports Illustrated for Kids.
We think reading is number one in importance, and this is an easy way to start that process.
Sports Illustrated for Kids is an awesome magazine.
Scott Case has played a whale of a game today, putting the hits on. Out of the shotgun and 4 wide receivers again against the Cowboy nickel with Bates in the middle. Here's a pass in the flat, picked up by the Cowboys. Larry Brown may score at the 30.
The Dallas Cowboys have won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. Will 1996 bring yet another Vince Lombardi trophy? 29 other NFL teams are out to stop them. The National Football League. No other professional sport has such compelling appeal. Witness the artistry. The intensity. The spectacle.
Marcus Allen dives over him for the touchdown for Kansas City. His 100th career rushing touchdown.
Move over, James Lofton. You've just been passed by Jerry Rice in the record book.
And Dan Marino has the granddaddy of them all now. Most touchdown passes ever.
It's America's autumn ritual, stirring up passions that only a hometown fan can understand. I'm Peter King of Sports Illustrated, your host for the 1996 Baltimore Ravens Video Yearbook, featuring a retrospective of the Cleveland Browns' historic 1995 season entitled Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen. Plus, a pair of Browns classics, profiles of Hall of Famer Otto Graham and underrated head coach Blanton Collier. How do today's Ravens stack up against the competition? Let's take a look at the 1996 Baltimore Ravens Video Yearbook.
It began September 6, 1946, when the Browns played host to the Miami Seahawks and won the game 44-0 here at the stadium. And the Cleveland Browns era, as we know it, comes to an end today in this, the 51st Battle of Ohio between the Browns and the Bengals.
The 50th and final year of Browns football offered 47 young men an overwhelming challenge. Thrust by circumstance into a season that symbolized the widening gap between teams and fans, these young men never lost their nobility. They rose above talk of sweetheart stadium deals, legal wrangling, and franchise free agency, and they simply played the game. played with heart. They played with dignity. And most important, they played for their fans, a legion of supporters who stuck by the team for 50 years. In 1995, Cleveland lost the football franchise, but they gained 47 heroes, men who proved their most valiant in parting. In the season opener, wide receiver Michael Jackson thrilled the crowd by duplicating his success from the 1994 playoffs against New England.
Then he's going to put it up. Pass time, steps up in the pocket, throw to a wide open Michael Jackson, 40, 30, touchdown, Browns, 70 yards.
The Indians aren't the only one that can get the home run ball.
Vinny rolls right. He's looking, throwing, end zone for Michael Jackson. It's a jump ball, and what is the call? Touchdown, Browns, Jackson.
What a catch!
The defense showed some muscle, stopping the Patriots short of a touchdown for 59 minutes. But with 19 seconds to play, Curtis Martin leaped toward the goal line with a debatable result.
Hands off to Martin. He dives. We've got no signal. He's not in. Now they say touchdown, Patriots. A very late call.
A very, very late call.
The Browns returned home to meet Tampa Bay, and the Dog Pound fans howled a chorus of approval for the defense. The NFL's toughest team to score on in 1994 looked just as dominant against Trent Dilfer and the Bucks, recording 7 sacks. The special teams also contributed, capitalizing on a muffed punt.
He fumbles the ball. He's hit. It's loose. Browns have it.
Vinny Testaverde, who quarterbacked Tampa Bay for 6 years, has undergone a renaissance in Cleveland, sculpting a masterful 2-touchdown performance.
Vinny looking, throws, corner, caught by McCardle, touchdown, Cleveland Browns. Vinny gonna put it up. Has protection, looks, throws deep up the sideline. McCardle wide open, touchdown, Cleveland Browns. A 32-yard strike, his second of the day for Testaverde.
In your face, Sam White.
Testaverde and Keenan McCardle combined on their 3rd touchdown in 2 games the next week at Houston.
And Testaverde to McCardle has become a familiar phrase.
Strong safety Stevan Moore put on an exhibition of his own, intercepting his way to an NFL record.
You are under pressure, steps up, throws down the sideline for Sanders, and it is tipped away and intercepted by Stevan Moore, who now joins some illustrious company with 3 picks here in the first half.
Running back Leroy Horde had his finest game of the season, and he kept the Browns ahead until the Oilers notched a late score. Then Testaverde and Michael Jackson connected on another game-breaking play.
Oilers blitz, steps up, throws, intended for Michael Jackson. Touchdown, Browns! And yes, the Browns have answered.
By righting themselves with 2 straight wins, the Browns headed home to face the unbeaten Chiefs, brimming with confidence.
Browns, baby! Number 1!
Man, they got some dogs out there, boy. Look at that big old number 98 over there. Now, that's a dog over there.
Hey, ma'am.
It's going to be a long day. Tough day, 60 minutes. We'll be all right.
Offensive lineman Orlando Brown, Bob Dahl, Steve Everett, Herman Arby, Warren Williams, and Tony Jones manhandled a Kansas City defensive front that includes 2 Pro Bowlers. The Browns' people movers plowed furrows of open space for Ernest Biner and the ground game.
Then he Hands off to Ernest Biner. Fights off the pile and into the end zone. Touchdown, Ernest Biner.
Great spin move at the 5-yard line.
Yeah, because they look like they started sitting there waiting on the run now.
But the Browns proved just as efficient with the pass as Vinny Testaverde continued his amazing early season run. Through 4 games, he completed 59% of his passes for 861 yards and 8 touchdowns.
Back to the pocket, throws for Rison. Touchdown, Browns. Andre Rison finds the end zone for the first time in a Browns uniform.
The Browns sensed a breakthrough, and they refused to let themselves fold.
You ain't hurt, Wallace. Forget about it. Just turn it up. All right, Bo, these guys like to come from behind, so don't let up. No defense now. Come on, put them away.
And the defense sent the team that finished with the league's best record to an early bed.
Second down and short. Bono, quick drop, throws intercepted by Gerald Dixon. 10-5 into the end zone. Touchdown, Browns. 1 of the 3 degrees.
Gerald Dixon was just sitting all over that run. Slant pattern, picked it off and took it in for 6.
And the party has started.
19 seconds later, Mike Caldwell would make sure the festivities would last long into the night by mimicking Dixon's speed.
Straight back, throws left sideline, intercepted by Caldwell, and he is strutting his way into the end zone. And what a party this is.
Damn, it feels good to be winning, boy. It feels good to be winning. We can only grow from here because, Dre gonna get better. We're gonna believe in ourselves more so.
Despite a promising start and high hopes, ominous clouds loomed overhead. The Browns would beat just one more team the rest of the year. The Browns met the Bills in Week 5 before a national television audience. Wide receiver Derek Alexander stole the early spotlight with a 69-yard punt return.
Alexander at his own 31-yard line. 40, 45, 50, one man to beat. 40, 30. They're not going to get him. Derek Alexander is running all the way back.
Though the Browns came up a field goal shy, the game was a testament to the explosive potential of the receiving unit. A gifted and productive set with 3 distinct parts: the deep threat, the touchdown maker, and the possession man. Keenan McCardle led the receivers in catches, possessing the ability to get open underneath man coverage or in the seams of the zone. In addition, McCardle unleashed a dazzling array of spectacular grabs. Free agent pickup Andre Rison got behind the defense enough to catch 5 passes of over 40 yards. His speed gave the Browns an added dimension they have lacked in recent years.
Throwing deep for Andre Rison, who takes it and puts it away and will be down at the Viking 7-yard line.
Oh, he hit him right in stride. Andre Rison with the go route on the right side.
But the highest praise must be reserved for Michael Jackson. He not only led all receivers in yards, but he scored every 5 times he touched the ball.
He's into the end zone untouched. End zone touchdown, Brown. Then he's going to put it up. Chargers blitz picked up nicely. Throwing for Jackson on a fade. Touchdown, Brown. 28 yards. And he touched the birdie to Michael Jackson to the left.
He sold the post pattern and came back out.
Has time. Looking over the field. Throwing end zone. Has Jackson open. He turns. Hands it. Touchdown, Brown. 37-yard strike. An outstanding catch and throw.
There were big play men all over the offense. Leroy Horde followed a Pro Bowl 1994 campaign by leading the team in rushing. Though a fullback by nature, Horde used an elusive style and electric speed to make big plays. Quality tight end play from Harold Bishop, Frank Hartley, and number 88 Brian Kinchin solidified an offense with multiple weapons. But the greatest impact might have come from a greenhorn from Marietta, Georgia named Eric Zier. In Week 9, the rookie was tabbed to start against the Bengals, and his freewheeling style perfectly suited Andre Rison, who ended up with 173 yards.
Zier going to put it up. Steps up in the pocket, throws, end zone, drives, and touchdown Browns. A 17-yard strike. Zier to Rison right on the money.
This is a different offense today.
Zier's presence seemed to inspire the whole team, which was in the throes of a 3-game slide. Defensive end Rob Burnett pummeled Bengal quarterbacks for 3.5 sacks. Ernest Biner faced a 179-yard rushing attack, and everyone played with a greater sense of purpose. Zier's youthful exuberance was an elixir for the team's lethargy.
Biner, nothing to the left, cuts it back, right into the end zone, touchdown Brown.
Cincinnati scored 10 points in the final minute to gain a tie, but instead of withering under pressure, the Browns reached down and found a new hero. Dana Hall's interception set up Matt Stover's field goal and a fitting cap to a hard-earned victory.
Oh my, had them all the way, never a doubt in overtime. The Browns win it 29-26. Doug, a game with so many heroes, and the 3-game losing streak comes to an end in the jungle.
Defense is about attitude in Cleveland, led by 11 relentless men ready to pounce at the sound of the starting gun.
1, 2, 3, start!
Replacing tackles Michael Dean Perry and James Jones was a daunting task made easy by number 78 Dan Footman, Larry Webster, and Mike Frederick, aided by linebacker support from 7- and 8-man fronts. Number 73 Tim Goad came in from New England and ably clogged the middle, registering most of his 49 tackles right at the line of scrimmage. Number 98 Anthony Pleasant and number 90 Rob Burnett are a pair of 6th-year bookends. It's unclear which player is quicker to the quarterback. Burnett posted 7.5 sacks using a variety of moves, tricks, and techniques. Pleasant led the team with 8 sacks, giving him and Burnett 74 since coming to the Browns in 1990. In addition, Pleasant demonstrated a proclivity for the sack and strip. When quarterbacks could get the ball away, linebackers Pepper Johnson, Carl Banks, Gerald Dixon, and Mike Caldwell either pounded the recipient, altered the flight plan, or caught the ball themselves. A deep secondary formed the backbone of the defense. Right cornerback Don Griffin was at his best close to the line against the pass or run, but he could also be dangerous in coverage.
Play action, Ilfer on a bootleg, looks, throws, end zone, intercepted by Donnie Griffin deep in the end zone.
On the left side, Antonio Langham showed no signs of a sophomore jinx, leading the team in passes defended. Before succumbing to a knee injury in Week 9, safety Eric Turner was leading the team in tackles. His absence allowed youngsters like Bashan Adams, Tim Jacobs, and Isaac Booth to gain valuable playing experience. But the star of the secondary was safety Stevan Moore. Thrust into a leadership role this season, Moore did a little of everything. He blitzed the quarterback. He provided run support. He imprinted his helmet on a host of receivers over the middle. He led the team with 5 interceptions, the first 5 of his career.
Harris there, no, intercepted by Stevan Moore. Stevan Moore comes up big. Will Fuhr gonna put it up. Right back in the pocket, looks, throws, middle, intercepted by Stevan Moore, and he spins and fights and takes it down.
The seeds of future defensive stars are sown on the special teams. Players like Louis Riddick, Eddie Sutter, Rich McKenzie, and number 20 Johnny Thomas have shown their readiness to step up and contribute through their fearless style of play on punts and kickoffs. The leader of this unit was Benny Thompson, who epitomized the heart of the Browns by playing most of the year with his hand in a cast. His courage was a sign of events to come in the trying final weeks of the season. The Browns entered a Week 10 home date with Houston, hoping for a fast finish to the season and a possible playoff berth. The game started with a touchdown to Andre Rison on the opening drive. But earlier in the week, Brown ownership announced a plan to move the franchise to Baltimore in an attempt to obtain more revenue. This distraction proved fatal for the Browns season. In future weeks, the Browns would continue to slide, making mistakes due not to a lack of effort, but a loss of concentration. It was a textbook example of Murphy's Law. Everything that could go wrong did.
Oh, apparently we can't go further south. Very sad day. As Harry Carey once said, you can't ballyhoo a funeral.
Idealistic hope gave way to cold fact. The Browns were leaving. Fans were left bewildered and angered, and so were the players. The move offered them a new perspective, a rare opportunity to witness real adversity, real hardship, real sadness. But they thrived in this moment of insight and made the most of their final chance to show Cleveland their passion for the game. In particular, 3 veteran leaders, the heart and soul of the team, gave an example of the indomitable force of pure will. Middle linebacker Pepper Johnson led the team with 130 tackles, giving a consistent effort on the field. But more than that, Johnson led with his demeanor, his feisty spirit that has always made him a tinderbox of emotion. This season, his boundless energy was needed the most. Vinny Testaverde has always been a more subdued leader. When he was benched in favor of Eric Zaire in Week 9, Vinny did not resort to the usual tactics of petulant stars. He waited his turn, returned to action, and delivered with his finest season. He completed 62% of his passes for 2,883 yards and 17 touchdowns, despite missing part or all of 5 games. It was Ernest Biner's second tour of duty with the Browns, and his indefatigable style was a link to the past. Biner caught 61 passes, most on the team. He led all running backs in touchdowns, and he went all out on every snap of the ball.
And he looks right, throws complete to Biner, and Ernest will stroll into the end zone. Zaire, straight back, dumps it middle, Biner wide open, 20-15, 10-5, touchdown Browns. Ernest Biner goes in untouched.
And rightfully so that Ernest Biner catches it, because he is one player that will not fold his tent.
These core players led the Browns into battle one last time in Cleveland.
Hey, program! Souvenir football programs, final edition!
26 years season's ticket holder. I'm going to cut my seat out. You got it, man. Go Browns.
Go Browns!
Last game in the stadium. Got to show a good performance. Finishing off on a positive note.
Turn it up, fellas! Let's turn it up, fellas!
In the twilight of the long history of Cleveland Stadium, the Browns had one thought in mind: preserve the legacy. Fittingly, it was a showcase for the team leaders. Ernest Biner ran for 121 tough yards. Pepper Johnson had 9 tackles and 1 pickoff.
Ball is tipped, intercepted by Pepper Johnson. 35 to the 30 to the 25 to the 20 to the 18-yard line. And the Browns are set up nicely.
And Vinny Testaverde's 22 for 32 performance made sure the Browns would leave their city the same way they entered, as winners.
Play action, looking, throws, Hartley, touchdown, Cleveland Browns. Vinny Testaverde a yard from the tight end from Illinois.
I saw the line, the tackle was back. I had to jump over the tackle. And I knew you threw it. As soon as I jumped over, I looked, the ball was in there. Oh. Yeah, baby.
He's gonna put it up. He's looking, has time, throws, end zone, McCardle, touchdown, Cleveland Browns. 16-yard strike, Testaverde to McCardle. What an amazing turn of events. And quite a few fans are turning their attention to memorabilia at this point, Doug. There are whole sections here now without seats as they want to take a part of this storied place home with them.
The majesty of victory soon faded, and as the final moments of the Browns in Cleveland dwindled away, the players made perhaps the most heroic gesture of the NFL season.
As Dana Hall and several other players now head to the dog pound. This is quite a scene. Everyone is on their feet as the players continue to walk up in front of the dog pound. They just want to hold on to the memories, see some of the players for the final time. They just want to sit and stay warm in the memories of so many years.
Nobody wants to let this moment go. Nobody wants this team to go. Nobody inside these walls.
In the end, time ran out on the Cleveland Browns. The wood, brick, and concrete stadium on West 3rd Street now houses bare, ruined choirs whistling softly of years gone by. But the memories of the 1995 Browns, the constant reminders of their courage, will never leave the hearts and minds of the citizens of Cleveland.
The late Paul Brown was the architect of this franchise, and his influence lay heavy on his many disciples. Quarterback Otto Graham was Brown's voice on the field, and he led his team to 10 championship games in 10 consecutive seasons. Longtime assistant Blanton Collier took over as head coach in 1963, and he paid immediate dividends, capturing an NFL title in 1964. Both Graham and Collier exemplify the tradition of excellence that's been this franchise's trademark since the beginning.
When it comes to winning, no quarterback in NFL history can equal the stature of Otto Graham. In each of his 10 pro seasons, Graham guided Cleveland to a championship game. After dominating the old All-America Conference, the Browns joined the NFL in 1950, and the clean-cut quarterback helped them maintain a dynasty.
When our old conference joined the NFL, I think we would have played for a keg of beer, me in my case a chocolate milkshake, or anything just to prove we had a good football team.
Otto was really the greatest of all the players. No man ever took a team into the final game of the season as many times as he did. They call it the Super Bowl today. In those days, it was called the World Championship.
If you take a team to the championship every year for 10 straight years, sure, you have to have some pride, no question about that. And my personality was such that I think I was always kind of cool under pressure. But I've always said that you have to have the confidence that you will do good, but at the same time, inside you have to have the fear that you might fail. Only once in my whole life did I ever go down to a football game and not go to the bathroom every 5 seconds before the game.
Graham wasn't the type to discuss his personal hygiene in public. He was an all-American boy and a family man whose wholesome values made him the Jack Armstrong of the post-war era. Graham was an ideal role model for the youth of his day, but when he laced up his cleats, he was hardly a goody two-shoes. A remarkable athlete and rugged competitor, Graham's fearlessness in the face of contact brought about a revolutionary change in football headgear.
I'm the first guy who wore a face mask. I hurt my lip, got a cut 12 or 13 stitches against the 49ers. Paul Brown came up with a great big plastic thing about 2 inches high, a half-inch thick. He molded it on there for the next game. And I've heard players say, you're not a football player until you get some of your teeth knocked out. That's idiotic, you know. Who wants your teeth knocked out, you know? That's ridiculous.
Keeping his teeth enabled Graham to become a commercial spokesman for Wheaties cereal. When it came to endorsing the Breakfast of Champions, Graham didn't mind learning how to act on cue. But as Cleveland's quarterback, he flinched when taking direction from head coach Paul Brown, who called the team's plays from the sideline.
I'm not a dummy, and it always makes me appear like I didn't know what I was doing out there. And I must admit that I did change a few plays that he sent in. But I also will tell you, if I changed the play, it better darn well work. Because if it didn't work, I was going to hear about it when I got to the sideline. Well, I ran out of the pocket a couple times, and he felt I left too soon, and so he sent George Radman in a ball game. I sit down on the bench, and I'm no more than 3 yards away from him. He turned and said to an assistant coach, well, at least now we have somebody in there at quarterback who has guts enough to stay in the pocket. If I had a gun, I would have shot him.
But the Brown-Graham relationship provided the foundation for an indestructible powerhouse. In the 128 games that Graham played as a professional, the Browns produced 104 victories. He retired after the 1955 title game, and though he left the stage a winner to a round of applause, his coach's farewell line was far from dramatic.
We played for the World's Championship, and he really had a great day. It was a big score. In courtesy to honor him, they took him out. And these were rival fans, but they gave him a standing ovation. And when he got to the sideline, he came over to me, walked up and said, thanks, Coach. And I said, thank you too, Otto. That's all that was said.
Winning made Otto Graham the greatest quarterback to ever answer the call to arms. Landon Collier, the coach who looked like a high school math teacher, was in fact a gifted educator with a wealth of football knowledge. Collier's first NFL job came in 1946 as an assistant for Cleveland's Paul Brown.
Coaches Blanton Collier and Fritz Heisler, who watched the game from the stands to get a better perspective, relayed the information to Coach Paul Brown.
In the 1950s, Collier was the head coach at Kentucky, where he recruited young assistants Chuck Knox, Bill Arnsparger, and Don Shula. By 1962, Collier was back with Paul Brown. But this time, trouble was brewing in Cleveland.
Well, at the end of Paul's career, when he became too conservative, we felt that he needed to make changes. So the players were united against him to have him open up the offense and do things that were more innovative. But then what happened was that Art Modell came in, bought the team, and that was the end of it because Art eventually got rid of Paul. Blanton was more of a human being as far as dealing with the human feelings of players and their emotions. And what he did is he gave us a free hand.
The new head coach freed up his star running back with a scheme known as option blocking. The result was Jim Brown's greatest season.
He created option blocking, which was a godsend to me because it allowed me to pick the hole. And it allowed the blockers to block the men in any direction that they wanted to go. And I had about a 9-point average on that particular play. And I felt that if I'd had option blocking throughout my career, it would have been an unbelievable career.
Collier's Browns improved in all areas. In 1964, they won the NFL championship.
He was the ultimate teacher. He did more in the off-season when people weren't working in the off-season. Blanton would take all of the tapes of the Browns games or the films of the Browns games back to Lexington, Kentucky, and spend the entire off-season down in his basement going over the films and charting all of the plays. And he also took the techniques of playing a position, which other coaches hadn't done, and put it down in an outline form so that you could then refer to it and teach from it.
The mark of the Browns under Collier, the mark I'm talking about is precision of movement. Their players were so groomed. If you took all their receivers and had them run the same pattern, and with no numbers on, just a gray jersey, they would look like the same guy. That's the way they taught. People are always talking about the Browns' offense, but actually the Brown defense never got credit for always being one of the top blue-chip defenses, and Collier was the architect of that. His linebackers were better drilled than any teams that I had to go against.
Critics said that Collier inherited a good team and simply fine-tuned it. But Cleveland's back-to-back Eastern Conference champions of the late 60s were developed by Blant and Collier. His most notable players were two future Hall of Famers. Running back Leroy Kelly, who took over when Jim Brown retired and produced 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons, and the great wide receiver Paul Warfield. In 8 years as a head coach, Blant and Collier never had a losing season. He had 5 first-place finishes, 4 conference titles, 1 NFL championship, and one of the greatest winning percentages of all time.
I had great respect for him, and I cared a lot for him. I respected him a lot because he did have the human qualities.
The players loved him. He had no ego. He let his people coach. He had a very sound grasp of all areas of the game, good concepts. He was just a very solid coach who was a good guy.
An unsung hero that never got the recognition that he deserved. Blant and Collier will be in my mind and my heart as one of my all-time best friends, a man who was a giant in his own way, very, very unacknowledged. Knew more football than any man I've ever known since.